It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
And just boom, put it right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
Let us dive right in, shall we?
Number 1.
I have no idea what Kliff Kingsbury is doing in the best way. See, some of you were like, me neither. I think that guy sucks. And guess what? We're probably going to wind up answering a couple of those calls during Tell the Truth Monday when we take your calls in just a little bit. But on a down-to-down basis, in the base plays, what I would say of this offense, the screens, the runs, the RPOs, he is doing a masterful job of detailing up these plays in a way that makes them a lot easier to execute, which is why in between the 20s, this offense has been money this year. Do they need to generate more explosives? Are there steps to go? Is this a finished product or even like a super high quality product at this point? No, it's a work in progress. But the baseline is really, really, really good. And let me explain to you what I mean. So he's using motion and what I would call like false actions to keep defenders from being able to make plays. Hey, we got a cornerback that's going to be a problem on this run. He doesn't have any real responsibility. He's going to crash down and fill the gap where we want this run to go. So we can either have our running back run in to the hole and smash into a corner or have to try to make a miss and probably a 4-yard gain, or we can hold him by running a route, or we can motion him so that he is, maybe our receiver starts on a tight split and then motions out on a short motion. So at the snap, that cornerback is running away from the play on the play side. Or we might run someone away from the play by motioning them out of the way. Or on run actions on one side, whether it's a true handoff or it's actually an RPO, meaning you could pull the ball and throw the bubble, we're going to put that bubble action on the side. And it doesn't really matter at that point whether the call in the huddle was a true handoff or whether the quarterback, Jayden Daniels, is reading it out. Because the effect of the bubble is the same. The effect is those linebackers that would crash down onto the run now have to go, oh, there's a bubble out there, and they have to wait. And that gets them behind the blocks. That gets them everywhere that you want them as an offense, not where they want to be as a defense. On the run plays, like, again, having the bubbles. On the bubbles, having the run action. It works both ways, right? There's a couple of these bubble screens that get out. Obviously no one went for a touchdown yesterday, but you have some bigger plays on some of these bubbles because the linebackers are a little late to get there. It lets the blocks get into place. So there's just really good detailing of things. Another one I'll add is like in the screen game. So often screens get caught from behind. They call those players rats. Oh, the rat got it. He's able to chase it down. So what do? You have, as an offense, you have rat killers. And in most of these screens, there is an offensive lineman whose job it is to peel back and be the rat killer. And you can see where that matters, where D linemen can't get back into these plays because Nick Allegretti or Sam Cosmi or Andrew Wiley has peeled off and is not even looking to block forward. They are looking to block backward because they understand as an offense that is often where screens get literally tripped up. I love a lot of this detail. And by the way, it's coming in areas where maybe we didn't think it would be the best because we just expected a big vertical passing game because it's Kliff Kingsbury and his air raid roots.
Number 2.
With that said, the pass game is a work in progress, and we'll talk about it more in a second. But the run game, oh my God. The run game is a thing of beauty. They have more explosive runs this year than they do explosive passes. And obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Their pass game is still, again, a work in progress. I think Jayden in the drop back game has a long way to go, and it's just stuff he hasn't had to do quite as much before. His footwork and some of the stuff is way more comfortable in the RPO game, and I'll get to that later on in the countdown or the count up, whatever we're doing here. But the run game, to have some of the stuff that I would say is like, hey, that's a Brian Dable New York Buffalo tree staple that Bobby Johnson brought with him, the offensive line coach. Hey, that's something that kind of has some Kyle Shanahan or some of these other West Coast, roots to it. That's probably an Anthony Lynn run. So, hey, that quarterback run action, that's something that they ran the hell out of in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. that was a Brian Johnson. And Kliff has always had a pretty good run game. And to see some of the pulls, different pullers. Sometimes you got guard and tackle. Sometimes you got center. Sometimes you got guard pullers. Shoot, you got some wham and some trap in there. Like, there's a play late in the game where they go wham, like to try to seal the game. They let that defensive tackle come flying upfield, and here comes, I think it was Ben Sinnott. It might have been John Bates. One of them just comes through. Blow! Tight end coming across, hits that wham block. Brian Robinson sneaks inside of it. First, get closer to a first down or closer field goal for Seibert. It's just like the detail and the beauty of this run game is it's not the sexy thing that everyone wants to talk about. Good radio shows aren't made on great run games, but I'm sure going to appreciate it. Watching the film, man, like some of these plays, the game plan specific details of understanding exactly where they need to hit blocks, understanding which players are going to be really aggressive and that they can use that against them. Understanding their quarterback's ability to be a flexible human. The one really wacky looking run play that goes for 40 where Jayden turns around and hands the ball off, his torso's turned 180 degrees. I don't even think I can hand a ball off like that. I'm not flexible enough. That was crazy. And they get guys flying upfield. The timing hits perfectly. Big gaps. The two lead blockers don't even have to block anyone at the first level. Could go on and on, but that'd probably not make for great radio. The point is, pass game, work in progress. Run game, work of beauty.
Number 3.
Okay, let's get to Jayden, and then we'll take a break, come back, and talk about some of the other finer points of the game. I would say two big things on Jayden Daniels. First and foremost, the play that Jayden got hurt on is kind of the full Jayden Daniels experience in one play. First of all, it's 3rd and 13, which is not ideal. That's not really on Jayden. I did also, for as much as I liked a lot of what Kliff did, I hated the second down call right before that. He called a QB draw after Jayden had taken a sack on first down. Do not get him hit on purpose 2 plays in a row. Don't love that. Whatever. 3rd and 13, downfield stuff gets covered. Eckler's open on a check down. Ertz is open on a check down. A lot of quarterbacks just throw it. They get 9 yards. It's 4th and 4. Bring on the punt team. Hey, we'll live to see it. We'll live to see the next drive. Not Jayden Daniels. And when Dan Quinn talks about I love the competitor, this is what he's talking about. You want a play that emblemizes exactly who Jayden Daniels, the competitor, is. It's I see Zach Ertz that I could hit for 8 yards and maybe he runs for 2 more and maybe he breaks a tackle, but I got a lot of space and I know what I can do as a runner. So I'm going to take off. And the pocket, it's clean enough. He probably doesn't need to run at the point that he does. It's not perfect by the time he takes off. Allegretti and Biotish have taken a little pressure. They're double teaming Dexter Lawrence, but Dexter Lawrence is a maniac. So he's pushed back in the pocket a little bit. But ultimately, they wash him out and pancake him. Wiley does a really great job on Brian Burns. Cosme's one-on-one with the other defensive tackle, Chapman, takes a little bit of pressure, which makes Jayden uncomfortable. So you got Lawrence coming in front of you. The other DT's getting pushed up a little bit. And he could kind of step up in the pocket, maybe be a little bit more patient, but he knows if he does that, maybe I'm risking getting hit from the backside. The problem is if he does, Luke McCaffrey screams wide open for a touchdown. If he can just step up and somehow stay behind the line of scrimmage and time it right, he just has to loft one Luke McCaffrey. He's got no one within 30 yards of him. But it's all happening really, really fast. And at the time he commits to running, that hasn't happened yet. It's easy for me to say when I watch the film back afterwards. He probably will see that too. And it's something that as he goes, are there still going to be a lot of runs in Jayden Daniels' future? Yes. Is he also going to make sure that he keeps his eyes downfield more and more and more and more? And you saw a couple of plays like that in this game? Absolutely. So, again, 3rd and 13, he commits to run. McCaffrey's not open yet. Nothing else downfield is open. Pretty good coverage. Got a couple of checkdowns. Don't want it. And he gets about 9 yards in. And he has a point where he could safely slide. And again, just, hey, I got my rushing yards. I tried. Nobody tripped and fell over their own shoelace. And so I'm just going to get stopped here. But that's not who he is. That's not why they drafted him. They drafted him because of the competitor. It is a feature, not a bug. And so he throws his body towards the line to gain, and I don't have a problem with it. It's 3rd and 13. You've gotten 11 yards at this point. Now is the time to put your body on the line. Now is the time to take a hit. And Jayden Daniels is going to have to take some hits because otherwise that means he's never running. And this is the time to take one. You've gotten yourself, basically, if you're willing to take the hit, a first down. It is unfortunate that he takes a helmet that knocks the wind out of him, but it happens. And thankfully, it was just the wind knocked out of him. He didn't break a rib or anything, but he gets the first down. He missed one play, and he came back. That is, in a lot of ways, right now at least, the Jayden Daniels experience. Probably could have something bigger if he's a touch more patient. Pretty good feel for the pocket. Will get better as he goes. Can take a situation where a lot of quarterbacks would just do the easy, simple thing, and it's easy. What was I supposed to do? It's, check down was there, so I just checked it down. And he takes what could be a solid play that doesn't ultimately lead to success, getting the first down, and he makes it into something successful. That is the magic of Jayden Daniels, and it is something that is going to win this franchise a lot of football games.
Number 4.
Last but not least on Jayden, the areas of improvement that scream out from the tape in this game. His feet need to get a lot better in drop back, which kind of duh. He's a rookie adjusting to a new offense and the new speed of a game. Every offense has drop backs that are a little bit different. So even though he didn't have to do a ton of drop back work at LSU, because a lot of it was, quick game, even some of the deeper throws, it's like, I got Malik Neighbors one-on-one. Let's throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. It's 1, 2, 3, balls out. So some of these more 5, 7-step drops, so even out of shotgun, out of pistol, like they're all new to him, and the game is a lot faster, and he is at times a little sped up, and I think part of that is his feet aren't quite underneath him yet. I will also say I am not as well versed in the timing of Kliff's offense yet, so some of these might be right, and it just looks off to me because I'm so used to West Coast tape after the past bunch of years and the Zampese stuff that Scott Turner ran that is very similar in a lot of the passing. So maybe it's my eyes. I'm willing to admit that, but it looks off kilter. It looks a little sped up. And there's a couple of good examples of this in the game. Second quarter, 3:51 to go. They have the ball in the Giants' 30, and he goes to throw an out to Brian Robinson, and it's a bad throw. Bad ball. Ball lands way outside his feet. I loved a lot of the stuff to set this up. Talk about good stuff from Kliff. Like, they're in 12 personnel. It's Sinnott and Bates as the tight end, and Robinson is the back. And you're thinking, that's a running formation. No, they're in freaking empty. And Jayden just doesn't nail the footwork, misses the throw. Later, he works back to Terry on a comeback. He just kind of lunges super weirdly into the throw. This is the one that Terry, I guess technically it's a drop. Terry would tell you he needs to catch it because it hits him in the hand, but it's a bad ball. It's like down and outside, and the throw is just super awkward. Later, he has Diami on the route at the back of the end zone. He gets pressure, but if he can figure out a way to slide and step up, and the timing's a little bit better, then that's probably a touchdown because Diami gets open in the timing of the play. So Coleman lost, but I don't know that it was that instant that he couldn't have made it happen, or that an elite quarterback wouldn't have, in their prime, wouldn't make it happen. So again, that's not to say that Jayden's doing a bad job, because that is not true. This kid is playing really, really well, especially for a rookie. You see Caleb Williams struggle. You see Bo Nix struggle. It's hard being a rookie quarterback in the NFL. He's got 0 turnovers. He has scored some touchdowns on the ground. No throwing yet, but he's moved the ball. He's led 15 drives so far as a pro. 12 ended in a field goal attempt or a touchdown. That's ridiculous. But if we're talking about where does he go, because we're doing the evaluation as a whole here, that is an area where he can definitely grow.
Number 5.
The Giants did a really, really good job most of the game on the quarterback run stuff, and that is because they have freakish athletes at the defensive end position. It's going to be interesting to watch how they use some of the zone read stuff as the year goes on, and I think some games are going to be really tough with that, but it's important to keep doing because even if you wind up handing the ball a lot, okay, fine. Theoretically, on a zone read, you should always be having the ball carrier go into good numbers. But the way to ruin that is to essentially, as a defense, play with 12 guys on the field, as if to say the guy who they're reading, if he is athletic enough to cover both the handoff and the read, not a lot you can do about that. You leave him unblocked on purpose in the hopes that he takes himself out of the play. And unfortunately for Washington, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau did an excellent job of staying square, leaning in, forcing Jayden to keep it, and then they were fast enough to actually stay with Jayden. And there's even a couple of times where they kind of force the handoff and can still go make the play inside. That's just special athleticism. But it also sets up like some of the other stuff later in the game. It sets up some of these bubbles. It sets up some of the RPO looks that they get. So it's important because it's a core piece of their offense. But just really a kudos to the Giants, who I think did a pretty special job in defending the quarterback run.
Number 6.
Okay, let's talk about it. Daron Payne and John Allen, they just simply have to produce more. Their PFF grades weren't bad in this game. I don't really know how. I'm going to reserve more comments on those two specifically until I talk to Logan about this tomorrow on Take Command. So make sure you're subscribed to Take Command to get that as soon as it can possibly be in your ears. But realistically, like, I feel like a lot of the big plays that the Giants had in the running game were right through the gaps that Allen and Payne should have been in. I actually thought that if you were to pull up, I don't have the ability to do this. I might have to ask someone with a little bit more data access to do it. My guess is that like when Phil Mathis and Drazon Newton were on the field, that the yards per play was better than when Allen and Payne were on the field, because there are just a ton of gashes right up the middle for those dudes. And Daron got some pressures on the Cleveland Furl sack. Like, he's the one who kind of forces it. Allen had a quarterback hit, at least one that I remember. So it's not like they did nothing, but you're paying those dudes a lot of money to have 2 tackles combined, both by John Allen. Payne had no tackles in the game. That's not good enough. And I think the thing that's really frustrating is, on top of not getting production, they're actively hurting you in certain situations. And here's the other thing I don't know is, are they doing what's asked and others are not covering for them? Or are they taking themselves out of plays because they're not doing the things that they're supposed to? So if they get really aggressive and get up the field quickly on a play that just gets run right by them, like there's one lead play where they don't even have to bother with the defensive tackle. Like, the guard just escorts John Allen up the field, and the fullback and the halfback just go into a 6-yard wide hole. And you're just like, what are we doing, man? We can't win like this. And like, sometimes I know fans are getting mad at Jeremy Chin for missing tackles in the hole. What do you expect? The hole is 10 yards wide. That's not a reasonable ask for a safety to get from like the hash to the opposite guard. You can't tackle an NFL running back in that space. And so that's not good enough from those guys. And I don't know whether it's them or it's a design flaw, but either way, there's a lot of other defensive stuff that I understand. That part of it, I truly do not understand.
Number 7.
Obviously, number 7 has to be Austin Seibert. I don't really have a lot to say. He told a great story after the game about how in the offseason he trains in a lot by his house and he tries to hit a pine tree, and his wife and daughter are out there with him, and it's a family affair. Like, good for Austin Seibert. Good for the Commanders. I will say this. You want to talk about good scouting? Seibert was with the Jets when the Commanders were joint practicing with the Jets, and he was on their list because they were watching the other field on the day that their kickers were struggling. Seibert was perfect on his kicks. He doesn't have the biggest leg. I think they understood that, and it didn't become a huge issue yesterday in terms of there was no like, hey, this is a 52-yarder. Do we kick it or do we go for it type of situation on a 4th and 5 at the whatever yard line it needs to be a 52-yarder, the 37 or whatever it is. So, like, okay, that's good. We'll see if it's an issue moving forward. But for yesterday, the man was asked to hit 7 field goals. He hit them all. So he's number 7. Good job, Austin Seibert. Bad job, number 8. Come on, number 8. I'm clicking you over here. I got number 8. Number 8's rebelling. Number 8. All right. The play style arrived more yesterday. Frankie Luvu had some absolute slappers of hits. The hit on Malik Neighbors early when he cracked back on him. Oh my God. That was physical. That was violent. And he had about 3 more of those in the game. Bobby Wagner had a couple of big hits, including one on Daniel Jones in the 4th quarter that made me rewind the tape. And it's just, Jones is like slithering through and Wagner just thumps him. And so it is something that's still a work in progress. Obviously, there's some missed tackles, and there's still a lot to clean up defensively. But at the very least, they played a lot faster, and they were way more physical yesterday. I no longer have any numbers. So, number 9. The screen game is going to require better blocking for big plays, and some of these require better blocking to even get off the ground. And I hate to say it because I love the guy, but that's going to mostly be a comment focused at Terry McLaurin. He did not have a good blocking day yesterday. I don't think he had a particularly good one in week 1, and it's going to be a thing that's going to have to get cleaned up because to play receiver in this offense, yes, you want to be a guy who gets the football, but you also are a guy that is going to have to block because that's the nature of it. So let's get that cleaned up, please. And then number 10. With 14:32 to go in the second quarter, they hit the big play to Zach Ertz, which, by the way, great catch by Ertz. Also probably could have been not quite as difficult had he not continued to back up. If he goes and attacks the football, I wonder if that's a coaching point. But regardless, he makes the play. No complaints from me. And they weren't so sure it was a catch, and neither was Brian Dable. Dable went to go try to challenge, but the Commanders got up to the line and got a playoff. And not only did they get a playoff, they got a little rollout where they lob a little ball to Ertz in the flat, and he picks up some yardage, and there's no challenge. And I just think that game management, getting it right, is good. We love that. So good job game management. Bravo. Situational football. Hasn't been executed around these parts in a long time. And so I thought I'd point it out here to end 1st and 10. All right. Coming up next, it is our Tell the Truth Monday. So here's what you do. You call in 301-230-0980, or you leave a comment on YouTube about what you thought about the game, and then we respond to it. So Tell the Truth Monday is next here on The Hoffman Show.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.